everyone, welcome back to the Irish Racing YouTube channel. Formscan here. We're going to preview the weekend ahead just after the new year, looking at Sandown and the big meeting at Naas, the Lauders of Naas meeting, and delighted to be joined by Donn McClean. Donn, happy new year. It's been a great period of racing, I think, since we last spoke, but more to look forward to this weekend.
Yeah, happy new year to you, to Emma. Yeah, no, it's I love Christmas racing. It kind of lived up to everything. I'm sure you've probably dissected every element of it by now, but no, it's hyped up quite a lot, and there's a lot to look forward to, and those rematches and the King George and all of that. And I think a lot of it lived up to what we were hoping for and what we were expecting. Those matchups were brilliant, both sides of the Irish Sea. Galloping Deschamps, what he did in the Savills again was brilliant. Like, he just proved himself to be the horse that we kind of hoped that he still was and still is. And great to see Constitution Hill back as well. Great to see Sergino doing what he did. And yeah, look, it's been and all the novices coming out and stepping forward again. Now it's been a brilliant couple of days.
It was, yeah. There was, like you said, all the clashes kind of delivered, and yeah, it was a brilliant period of racing. But we just getting the declarations through for another Grade 1 card at Naas, and it looks like a cracker there as well. So more to look forward to. January can be kind of a quiet enough month, but this weekend at least anyway has plenty to look forward to. And I was kind of saying we were going to do a couple of races from Sandown, a few of the races that will be on ITV first to start off, and then we'll switch back to the Naas card on Sunday to finish off the show. So I think we'll go straight into Sandown first. I think the first race being shown on ITV of the day, it is the 150. It's a handicap chase over the 2 mile 4 furlongs. And the betting in this one, Donn, is quite trappy. The bookmakers don't seem to be able to split the top three in the betting. Etalon there for the Skeltons, Rocco Vango for Ollie Murphy, who's in great form, and Hunter's Legend down the very bottom for Venetia Williams, all in around the 3-1 mark. So there isn't a whole pile between these three. What was your thoughts on this first race in Sandown?
Yeah, look, it's an open race, Emma. Hunter Legend, he won well last time at Leicester. Now, that was only a not 125 handicap, so he's stepping up a fair bit in grade. He's up £7 in the handicap. He's actually £1 out of the handicap, so he's £8 higher than he was then. He won with plenty in hand, so you can see the case for him. Triple Trade is generally a horse I like, but I think he's a horse who will probably improve for stepping up and trip to 2.5 miles, and there's a race in him somewhere along the way. But I just thought Etalon, he's a Sandown horse. He ran really well in the novices final on Imperial Cup Day, finished 4th behind Crambo, who won his second long walk hurdle there the other, or just before Christmas. And when he won at Sandown over fences in February, Etalon, he got out in front. He made all. He came clear of Gunsight Ridge, who probably would have beaten Matata, I thought, at Cheltenham's November meeting if he hadn't fallen at the final fence. And I don't know, like he looked like a horse who could be really progressive in this season. He's run 3 times this season. He hasn't quite sparked yet, but there was a lot of encouragement to be taken from his run at Cheltenham the last day, I thought, in the handicap chase that Liberty Hunter won. He was in behind early on. They went a really fast pace, and he just kept on to finish 5th that day, stepping up and tripping out to 2.5 miles. He kind of was held up or ran in mid-division over hurdles, but he's been better over fences since he's been just allowed bowl along either prominently or in front, and especially back at Sandown now. I'd say the Skeltons probably have had this race in mind for a little while. Harry Skelton prefers him to Unexpected Party, which is obviously significant. And yeah, I think the step up to 2.5 miles, the return to Sandown, that could all be in his favour. And yeah, look, it's as you say, Emma, it's an open race, but I think he's probably the one they have to beat.
Yeah, stepping up and trip is definitely an interesting angle for him. I wonder what the idea behind the name is. Is it a play on the Irish for aeroplane? Or Etalon sounds like anyway. So maybe he might be an aeroplane in Sandown on the weekend. But I thought one was interesting at a price now. You get the 8 with the 8 one, you get 3 places. So I thought it might have been worth a bit of a look. But Briscoe there for Harry Durham. Look, I suppose not many trainers can improve horses coming from Willie Mullins, but I'm not sure would he even have to improve. If Harry can get him back to somewhere near that form he showed for Willie, I'd say like maybe, look, this looks a competitive race, like you said, but he should be able to get in the frame of a race like this. I think the last time we saw him for Willie was winning a handicap chase in Killarney. It was August 23, so he was off the track for quite a while before he came back for Harry. He made his return there in November. Kind of a quiet enough run there, but Look, I just thought he had a progressive enough profile for it. Like, he was only a 6-year-old when he won in Clarny that day. He'd only won in, that was a beginner's chase. He had won in one handicap in Galway, but I think he was kicked on the way to the start or something, so he disappointed that day. But like, he was rated 137 when he won that beginners, won it by about 10 to 15 lengths. So like, you maybe would have had him maybe a mid 140s horse. Really, he's off America 134 here. He's had a bit of a run. Harry Durham has had a bit of bad luck, I think, with his gallops recently. He was saying on Twitter that the rain took the surface off his gallops, so his horses have been slow enough to come out. But and I think he has been running in the last few weeks, has been running really well. I think he's only had about 10 runners in the last 3 weeks, but he's operating about a 30% strike rate. And just looking back to the ones he has run, like, I think there's only 2 or 3 of them were out of the first 3. So Hubrisco maybe might be a bit of a shot in the dark, but if Harry can get him back to what he was showing for Willie, or somewhere close to that, I'd say he probably will win a few races in the UK for him off a mark like this. I'd be hoping. So I think 16-1, just a small each way bet maybe would be what I'd go for there. But we'll go on to the next race of the day, the 225, and this is a listed mare's hurdle over 2 miles and almost the 4 furlongs. Casa de la Longa, the 15-8 favourite in here, under Richard Patrick, Aston Martini for Nico de Boinville, and Nikki Henderson 7-2, and Dame of the Cotswolds, who's been massively progressive in her last 2 starts. I think up 19 pounds from her last 2 runs, is around 9-2. But Don, I suppose, look, the favourite on ratings. She looks fairly well in here off level weights against these. What's your thoughts?
Yeah, look, she's the standard set, Emma, for sure. De la Casa Longa, she's £9. I think superior to the best of her rivals on official ratings. And a listed mare's hurdle, yeah, like she meets them all off level weights, and she was good the last day at Kempton there on Wayward Lad Chase Day. I just, my natural inclination is to look for something or reasons why she might not win. First of all, she's dropping down a trip to 2.5 miles, which she does. Look, she's got form over 2.5, but she stays 3 miles well, so you wouldn't count it as a positive. And she does like to get on with things, and that's not easy to do on testing ground at Sandown. You normally, those hurdle races, different over fences, obviously you want to be up handy, but over hurdles, especially if they go quick, you probably want to be coming off the pace and wide as well. Generally, the better ground at Sandown and the hurdles track tends to be away from the far side, although that wasn't the case. I think the last meeting and the meeting before that. But look, she's it's her first run back after a wind operation was last time. She's having her second run back after a wind operation, so she's the one they have to beat. They all have £9 to find. Aston Martini, I think she has to be on your shortlist. Nikki Henderson's mare that you mentioned, she just the worry about her. She was well beaten the Jerry Fielding last time, and on her only run at Sandown, she was well beaten in a Grade 2 mare's hurdle there last February. So she's short enough for all of that. You mentioned Dame of the Cotswolds. I think she's a really interesting mare. She's progressive, as you said. She's had 13 runs over hurdles, so she's not obviously unexposed. But her last 4 or 5 runs have been the best of her life. She just keeps on improving. She was very good in winning at Doncaster last time. She was an odds-on shot, but she made a pretty bad mistake at the 4th or the 5th flight that day. And she did well to recover. She did well to stand up, but she stayed on well to win nicely. She won at Ludlow the time before that, beat Get Your Gucci On, who finished second at Plumpton next time. And she's on softer ground now than the ground that she encountered at Doncaster or at Ludlow for her last 2 runs. But she finished second behind Roxtown Girl of Anthony McCann's the time before that, who actually was running a big race in the race that Paula's Charm won at Cheltenham at the November meeting, the high novices hurdle. And Dame of the Cotswolds was beaten behind her. She wasn't beaten far by her, and she finished third behind Salver at Haydock there at the end of last season. Salvo and Donna finished third in the time hurdle. So she does have form on soft ground. She's progressive on better ground. But yeah, I think she could be interesting in there.
Yeah, she's definitely an improver, like you said, even though she has had a few runs, but only a 5-year-old mare. And sometimes when those mares can kind of get into that form, kind of getting their heads in front, take a lot of confidence. So yeah, I can see the case for her. I kind of found it hard enough to see past De la Casa Longa myself. Like, even going back to her form in Ireland when Sam Curling had her, she looked really progressive. It kind of maybe took her a little while to find her feet in the UK, but she seems to have found it now. Like, she won one of those auction races, I think, in Leopardstown for Sam, and then she went on to run in the final. She was second at the final of those auction races. She was second to Sandown Clegane, I think, and like she split Sandown Clegane and Senior Chief that day. Like, so you'd think maybe then going to the UK, like she could be a proper good mare, but took her a little bit of time. So look, I think in a race like this, like you said, there's maybe just dropping back and trip mightn't be ideal, but off level weights, she'd probably be the pick for me in here. But you can see the case for the Twiston Davis one as well. She looks like an improver. But we'll just chat about one more race in Sandown before we switch back to Naas, and that's the Veterans Chase. Chance to see the old boys again. This is over the 3 miles, all a year older as of Wednesday, and this is a great series, I think, anyway, getting them a bit of a chance to elongate their racing career and running for great prize money as well. This is a £100,000 race, which made it a little bit surprising to see no Irish challenger over for this one, but it looks a competitive field, and the market's topped by Copperhead there for the Tizzards. He's around 3-1 under Freddie Gingle. Tizzards have a really strong hand in this one. They've Eldorado Allen as well. He's around 4-1 under Brendan Powell. And Sam Brown up at the top of the weights there is another one prominent in the market for Anthony Honeyball. He's getting the £10 claimed off him as well now, the 13-year-old. Don, it's a competitive looking race. Copperhead has been really consistent in these contests so far this season already, so it's fair enough to see why he's favoured, I suppose.
Yeah, he's having a great season, Emma. For an 11-year-old, well, 10, he's only just turned 11. Obviously, they all have just got a year older. He won his first 2, won at Chester, then won at Aintree, and he ran a big race at Sandown over this course and distance. When he was only just beaten by Certainly Red, and then last time at Cheltenham, he had Eldorado Allen behind him, the stable companion, when he finished second behind Numitor. He just couldn't get to Numitor, and Eldorado Allen was about 4 lengths behind him. So look, he's in tremendous form. You're kind of looking at these veterans, and I get sucked into if he could return to his best form, but sure, they're all the same. They were all rated much higher than they are now, and most of them were. But Copperhead, like he was rated 117 at the start of the season. He's now 133, so he's 16 pounds higher than he was at the start of the season. So he's improving, but there's a downside to that as well. Obviously, like he got another 2 pounds for his run the last day against Numitor, so he's going to have to step forward again. He's going to have to continue improving. I wouldn't be surprised to see Eldorado Allen reverse placings with him. I thought he was staying on at Cheltenham the last day up the hill over 2.5 miles, now back up to 3 miles. It should suit Copperhead as well. He's got form over further. I think he's a Reynolds Town Chase winner as well as a novice. But Eldorado Allen, he should definitely be suited by the step back up and trip, and he's got form at Sandown as well. He won his maiden hurdle at Sandown, albeit over hurdles. But I thought Sam Brown was the most interesting. I thought he might run well in the Coral Gold Cup at Newbury, but he just got outpaced. It was good to soft ground that day. It just all happened too quickly for him, and like he's a real stayer. It was good to soft ground. Then I'd say it's going to be more testing at Sandown. And we don't know for sure. It's the currently calling it, I think, good to soften places on the chase track, but it might be softer than that. And Sam Brown, he really is a horse who likes to get dug down deep. When stamina comes into play, he's going forward. Like I thought he ran a big race in the Charlie Hall Chase on a Savvy this season when he finished third behind the Real Whacker. And the Real Whacker didn't run badly in the King George. He finished fourth. He had the Brave Man's Game just in front of him. Then, like he was only beaten less than 5 lengths by the Real Whacker in that. That was before he went to Newbury, and he was kind of nibbled out in the market at Newbury as well for the Coral Gold Cup. But he should be happier now back in a veterans race. He's got form at Sandown as well. He finished 6th in the 365 Gold Cup there in April. He wasn't beaten. He was beaten less than 10 lengths in the end by Manella Cocooner. And I just thought that like he's off a mark of 153, which is £6 higher than the mark off which he won this race last year. And the race was run at Warwick last year. Sandown was abandoned, and it was run a week later on Classic Chase Day at Warwick. But he won it well. He stayed on well to get the better of I Right, and the pair of them finished well clear. So I think £6 hike for that, just that form taken in isolation, is not a negative. He should be fine. He's 13, and you kind of think that's very old, but actually this race, 13-year-olds have a really good record in the race. In the last 5 years, they've only been 11 runners who are 13, and they've had 2 winners and 2 seconds and a third. So it's and as you said earlier on, Emma, they're not the youngest veterans are not 10 now. It's the 2024 series. It's the final of that, so they've just turned 11. So he's only 2 years older than the minimum age. So I don't think that's a negative. And Chad Bament, the jockey, he's very inexperienced, but he was seen to good effect in a mare's handicap hurdle there at Sandown and Tingle Creek weekend on Good Luck Charm. I thought he gave her a really nice ride. He timed his run well. He came wide into the home straight, and he was good in the finish. So he takes £10 off. So it's a significant claim that he has, obviously, even though he is inexperienced. But I didn't think he did a huge amount wrong that day. So I think that's probably a net positive that he's claiming £10. So yeah, I just think Sam Brown has got plenty in his favour, and I can see him, especially if conditions get testing and if they go a good pace, then that should bring his stamina into play.
Very good. Yeah, I can't say I've seen Chad Bement ride much myself now, but like you said, that £10 claim can be really, really significant. It's a lot of weight to take off their back and really help him off top weight there. Look, I didn't have a massively strong opinion on it. You'd imagine Copperhead will win his race. Like you said, he's climbing the ratings the whole time. Whether the handicapper is going to catch up to him, he's like you said, up £2, I think, for the last one. I agree with you. I wouldn't be surprised to see Eldorado Allen reversing that for him. Kind of saying about getting sucked into their past form. Like, he was the best of these, I'd say, anyway, over fence. Like, he was dead man chase winner in his prime. Obviously well past that now, but you could take loads of promise. I thought from his last run, staying on. I think stepping up to the 3 miles will help him here as well. But look, I wouldn't go against you with Sam Brown. You made a strong enough case for him there. I don't have a massively strong opinion on that one myself, but if I had to pick one, it might be Eldorado Allen there. But I think we'll switch back to Naas now. A brilliant card in Naas. Just got the declarations shoot this morning for Sunday. I think we'll actually talk about the very first race in the day. We're going to pick a couple of races to talk about. I think this might be the first one. It looks like a really, really strong mare's beginner's chase over the 2.5 miles. Kind of looking back through previous winners of this race, like the likes of Jeremy's Flame, Tell Me Something Girl, a good mare can pop up here. And the declarations for this year might suggest you might get the same again. Who I was drawn to immediately, Lantry Lady for Henry de Bromhead and Darragh O'Keefe. She was a mare I was a big fan of last year. Rachel is riding the other Henry de Bromhead runner, though, Majestic Force. She ran in a good beginner's chase in Cork. She was second to Spindleberry. She ran well that day. And fun for Willie Mullins and Patrick as well. Another one who's likely to be right up there in the betting. Obviously, I have no odds for this one yet, but I'd say they'll probably be the 3 main protagonists at first look anyway. Don, what was your thoughts on this race?
Yeah, great race to kick off proceedings, then, as you say, and a really, really good card at Naas. It's you'd think all the good horses have run over Christmas. Well, look, turns out they haven't. There's still a few left to run at Naas. Yeah, look, this is really interesting. Paul Tennant's riding Carrie de Blaise. She finished 3rd behind Only by Night and Nara in that Grade 2 Mares Novices Chase at Cork last time. I think Only by Night she is really progressive mare. Colin Cromwell's and Carrie de Blaise wasn't beaten far by her. Lantry Lady, I fully agree with you on her. She's a really interesting mare from last season. But I was impressed with Majestic Force the last day. I think she shaped as if she could be a much better chaser than Hurdler. She got out in front, and she, even when Spindleberry came to her, she kept on. It looked like, on the run to the final fence, it looked like she had that race in the bag at Cork. But in the end, she only just got beaten by Spindleberry. And Spindleberry, remember, she had Iris Emery back in 3rd place, well beaten off, who reopposes. And Spindleberry split Jay DeGruchy and Jatara in the Grade 1 in the Honeysuckle Hurdle there at Ferryhouse at the end of last season. So that was a big run by Majestic Force, I thought, to get as close to Spindleberry as she did. And if she can come forward from that, which she should do, it was the first run since March. It was her first run over fences. It was only her 3rd run in total under rules. So she's a mare, I think, from whom there could be a fair bit more to come. And as you say, we don't have prices on it yet, but she might not be, I think she might be maybe underrated in the market a little bit. So I think she's interesting.
She's definitely interesting as well. Fun. She's definitely bred to be a chaser. I'd have maybe slight worries about her, though, over the trip. I think she's only gone to 2.5 miles once, and she disappointed that day. First one of the season. Look, I don't know. She can be quite keen. She'll have to settle. The ground could be fairly testing on Sunday in Naas, so it might just put me off her slightly. I'm with Lantry Lady, to be honest, myself. I can see, look, Majestic Force, she has the run under fences, but I still kind of go back to that run in the Red Mills Hurdle last year. I thought she was just brilliant after, I think, nearly a year off the track. She had won her maiden hurdle the year before, but maybe it wasn't the strongest Red Mills Hurdle in Goran, but just on the ground, there was loads of things kind of against her. She was inexperienced. I just thought it was a brilliant performance, and she went to Cheltenham then, and she ran a great race behind Lossie Mouth. I thought maybe disappointed a small bit in punches now, but you could definitely forgive her for that. I think that the ground will be in her favour. She looks like a chaser. She's just one I'm a massive fan of. Obviously, the price will be interesting to see how they price this one up, but I'd be a big fan of Lantry Lady here and going forward. But you'd imagine there'll be plenty of plenty to take from this race because it looks like there's a few decent fillies in there. But I think we'll go on to one of the grade ones of the first grade 2 graded race of the day. It's the Racing Post Novice Chase. It's over the 2 miles. I think kind of upgrading this to grade 2 status after getting rid of the grade 1 at Christmas time for the 2 milers, and 5 declared for this one. Look, plenty of good horses have won this in the past. Kind of looking at the entries this morning before the declarations came through, I was hoping Majbur might show up, but it's still a really high quality field. In the pocket was the choice of Jake from McManus. I'd imagine he probably didn't want to pit his 2 novice chases against each other at this stage of the season, but he shows up here. He's the 11-10 favourite in Atlantique, who was second, I think, in the Lawlers and Naas last year's 9-4 under Paul Town and Foley Mullins, and Firefox for Gordon Elliott and Sam Ewing 5-2 as well. This looks like a really, really good grade 2 chase, Donn. Look, there's probably be plenty of pointers towards the Arkle at Cheltenham in this one. And in the pocket, I was really impressed by his chasing debut at Wexford. His second chasing start. He was obviously second to Facile Vega, missed last season, but I thought he was really professional at Wexford. He deserved favourite here, I'd say.
Yeah, look, he's I thought he was an Arkle horse last year, Emma, when he finished second behind Facile Vega, and then we didn't see him again afterwards. He just had a setback, but he looked as good as ever. Like, he looked like he still had that potential to go on and do what it looked like he was going to do, or he had the potential to do last year. Like, he's a top novices hurdle winner from Aintree from the year before that. He was very good the last day. He beat Farron Glory, who came out and won at Naas next time and finished second in the Craddock stand. He had If I Were a Rich Man behind him in third, who won at Punches stand then next time. So even the form of that chase at Wexford is working out really well. I'm just dying to see him again. Like, he's just such a talented horse. Loads, but he's 8 years old now. He's just turned 8, so he's obviously older than you would expect from a novice. But he's so lightly raced, and he was such a good hurdler. We know the Henry de Bromhead horses, they can take good steps forwards over fences. And yeah, I'm really looking forward to seeing him again. But as you said, it's a hell of a race. Like, Il Atlantique was so good the last day over fences. His jumping was very good. He was a high class hurdler, as you said, was only just beaten by Reading Tommy Wrong in the Lawlers race last year. And he jumped so well the last day, he could be an even better chaser than hurdler. Firefox sets a really high standard. Like, he was such a high class hurdler last season. If it wasn't for Mystical Power, he'd be a dual grade 1 winner. He was very good at Down Royal. And then in the Drinmore chase, you know, Sam Ewing was brilliant on Croke Park from the front, just riding the race to suit himself. And it turns out Croke Park was probably better than we thought he was going into that race anyway. He's gone and won again since. But Firefox was only just beaten in that race. Hartwood, who finished second just in front of him, he didn't run badly in the Savills chase. So that's a really good level of form the Firefox was bringing into the race as well. And back down to 2 miles is interesting, isn't it? Having run over 2.5 over fences first 2 runs this season.
Yeah, that's probably the thing I was going to ask you. Like, in the pocket, like you said, probably looks like a 2 miler, but in Atlantique, Firefox, maybe both ones, like, they've obviously tried over further trips. In Atlantique, maybe dropping back to the 2 miles for him in particular. I thought, look, he maybe didn't look like the fastest horse in the world last year, but they thought an awful lot of him as a hurdler. And I thought Paul's comments, even after he won his beginners, like, it was quite a good race. Good land was in behind him that day. And Paul was kind of saying how much they liked him as a novice hurdler. Obviously, he ended up disappointing a bit in the end. But do you think maybe dropping back to 2 miles, making the running, leaving him wing fences could bring a bit more improvement in Atlantique?
Yeah, like, it's interesting, isn't it? Because he doesn't shape like he needs to drop back to 2 miles. And he ran in the Lawlers race last year. Paul rode him, didn't he, in front of a whole host of stable companions in the Lawlers race last year. So yeah, I don't think he needs to drop down in trip. So I wouldn't see it as a positive dropping down in trip. But as you say, like, you know, horses can, especially given how well he jumps. Like, his jumping, he jumps like a 2 miler, while he got further over hurdles. Yeah, like, you can see him just getting into his rhythm, as you said, in front, and his jumping maybe putting some of his rivals under pressure. So that's kind of how I see the race developing like that.
Yeah, it looks a tricky one for punters, I'd say. Would you kind of be siding with in the pocket if you had to pick one?
Well, he's short enough, isn't he? Like, he's a fashionable horse now, so I think he's short. Like, I can't see a huge angle in the market that you just called out. I think it's probably right. I'd have In the Pocket in his favourite and Firefox on the Atlantic behind him, and not much between those two behind him, and that's kind of the way the market is. So I don't see a massive angle from a betting perspective in the race.
Yeah, I kind of agree with you there. It looks a tricky enough one. I'd probably be willing to give it Atlantic. He definitely disappointed last year, but like they just thought so highly of him even after he won his maiden hurdle. Willie was just ranting and raving about him, and I think this probably going to be fairly testing ground. That should be up his alley. And you were talking about his jump, and I thought he was really, really impressive as well. And Paul was even saying after the race that he was kind of holding him back to kind of get him to learn a bit more about the jumping. And I think he might be kind of leave him rock and roll here now over the 2 miles. So it'll be interesting. But look, I probably won't have a bet in the race either. But I'd be willing to maybe give an Atlantic another chance this season. I think he's probably better than how his season finished out at last year. So look, it'll be a cracker, and one to definitely watch going forward. But we'll go on to the next race. We'll talk about the grade 1 of the day, the Lauders of Naas novice hurdle over the 2.5 miles. And always a really, really interesting race. I love this meeting because it can be so kind of informative going forward. Like there's been some really good horses who have actually been beaten in the Lauders. So even like watching ones who maybe finish in behind here going forward to races in the future wouldn't be a bad idea. But we've got last year's champion bumper winner Jasmine DeVoe. He's 13-8. Yellow Clay, the big contender from Gordon Elliott, under Sam Ewing, 9-4. Couple of more unexposed ones. I suppose we know a bit more about those, but Butch Cassidy and Shuffle the Deck, 2 5-year-olds kind of stepping up markedly in grade here, thrown into grade 1 company and make it a really interesting contest. But Jasmine DeVoe, I suppose we'll start off with the favourite, Don. Made his hurdling debut in Navan. Jumping maybe left a little bit to be desired that day.
Yeah, maybe. There's definitely room for improvement in his jumping, which you can view that as a positive as well as first run over hurdles. So as he develops in terms of experience and becomes a bit more fluent over hurdles, then he could take a good step forward again. But look, he sets the standard. He won the champion bumper last season. He beat Romeo Coolio and Jalen Dederis and Sans Victorious, who came out and won there the other day. And then, I thought the latter part of the race, the last day at Navan, that was the impressive part, when he just, the further he went, the more impressive he got. He stayed on really well to beat the Enabler, and the Enabler just won there. Just got home at Leopardstown in the maiden hurdle, but I thought he probably had a bit more in hand than the winning margin in the end. And Work Ahead, who finished third, won at Leopardstown, won really impressively from William Money. So that's good form. And you'd think that Jasmine DeVoe will come forward again from that. Even the fifth horse, Come Walk With Me, of Eddie Cawley's, finished second behind Sans Victorious, and actually looked like he had Sans Victorious beaten as well. So that form has worked out well. It's no harm that he won his bumper at Naas as well, Jasmine DeVoe, and his only run there. So look, he's a worthy favourite, but, and as you said, you mentioned some of the others. It's a hell of a race. Like, the Yellow Clay is a horse that I've always liked. He's won his 3 races now over hurdles. He did really well to win at Navan the last day, the grade 2 Navan hurdle. They went no pace early on. Fleur in the Park, really good ride by Cian Quirk to tailor the pace up front. I think the finishing speed percentage was 116%. So it wasn't a fast pace at all. And the Yellow Clay looked beaten. So he did well to pick up like he did and get the better of Fleur in the Park. Mozzie's Sister, who was second, I thought she did well in terms of upholding the form. I thought she did well to finish second to the big Westerner in the grade 2 at Limerick. She didn't jump well at all for whatever reason at Limerick, and I thought she showed a good attitude to finish second. So I would see her run there, even in defeat, as being a positive for that grade 2 race at Navan. And the Yellow Clay, like, he stayed 2 miles 6.5 furlongs at Down Royal when he won his maiden hurdle. He finished second in the champion bumper at Punchestown last year, last year now, not last season anymore. It's last year as well as last season, behind Redemption Day. And he's just a classy horse who, they're talking Albert Bartlett hurdle maybe, but he's got pace as well. He's not just a Dara 3 miler. He's a 2.5 mile horse for sure. And Butch Cassidy, he showed a really good attitude, I thought, the last day at Punchestown, didn't he, to get back up and beat Sermon Zarak. Like, I thought he was beaten watching the race live, and he battled back well. And Sermon Zarak didn't really uphold the form there at Leopardstown behind K. Duthie, but he never travelled through the race. That just wasn't his running. And Shuffle the Deck was back in third, a reopposed, and who has since come out and won at Naas. So he took a step forward that day, and there's every chance he'll take a step forward again. As you said, he's only 5. Like Butch Cassidy, and Butch Cassidy is a half brother to Fiona, really well bred horse as well. He's only had 2 runs, so and one in the bumper, which he won, and one in the maiden hurdle, which he won as well. So that type of trip was 2 miles, 3.5 furlongs at Punchestown. I think the 2.5 miles at Naas will suit him really well as well. So he's a big player in the race, but I think if I had to pick one, it'd be the Yellow Clay.
Very good. Yeah, look, it's kind of hard to rule any of them out here. Like you were mentioning, the 2 5-year-olds, they're obviously stepping up massively, but showing real promise. Even like some of the ones at the bigger prices, like Wingmen is a horse who I really like. I think he definitely disappointed in Cheltenham last time, but that was over 2 miles. It was kind of a messy race as well. Like the front one went off miles in front, and it all maybe happened a bit too quick for him. But stepping out in trip, his jumping will definitely have to improve. He did jump out right on both starts over hurdles so far, but he was a really, really talented bumper horse. Huge engine. So I think, look, he's a good horse as well. But I thought Super Sunday was the one that was definitely way overpriced. Very little running done, I suppose, but he ran in the Supreme Novice Hurdle last year. Like, it's quite easy enough to forget it now, and he was only beaten 10 lengths that day on his very first start for Winnie Mullins, half brother Super Sunday. I went out then and he won his maiden hurdle under Kieran Callaghan. Was that in Ballinrobe? It was, yeah, Ballinrobe. I think it was during that time where it's only the claiming jockeys are allowed to ride. Is it if you've ridden less than 15 winners or something? So Paul wasn't able to ride him that day, but like, I actually watched back his run at the Supreme this morning. Like, he kind of made mistakes kind of at the wrong times, which maybe took a bit of stuffing out of him. But he ran a massive race, like, to be thrown into that that kind of contest on his first start for Willie. Like, it was a huge run, and I just think 25-1 about him. Like, he's kind of shown that he can compete at a very, very high level already in novice company, and I don't think stepping out in trip will be any hassle to him either. So I think he's definitely interesting from an each way angle with the 8 runners in here. But if I was to pick between, I suppose, the big 2 who are probably most likely to be fighting out the finish, I'd probably go with Jasmine DeVoe. I just think over this trip, like you were saying, the Yellow Clay, maybe more of a staying type, whereas Jasmine DeVoe could have a little bit more boot. I'd be a little bit worried about his jumping, but you'd imagine he'll probably improve for that. And like you were saying, the form of that maiden hurdle win, like, even though he wasn't as flashy as you might have expected him to be, it was still, kind of looking back on it now, it was still a really good run. And yeah, I think that champion bumper last year could turn out to be a really strong race, I suppose, as usual. But you were kind of naming through them earlier. It's, yeah, it looks like there's some good horses finished in behind him that day. Second horse already from the champion bumper, a Grade 1 winner. So I think Jasmine DeVoe definitely the one to beat there. But Super Sunday, maybe a bit of an each way bet as well. That's the graded races done. But I think you had a mention for a handicapper in the 305. Sorry, it's the Adair Manor handicap hurdle. You had one to give a mention to here.
Yeah, I just thought Giant Haystacks is interesting. Emma coming out again just a week after he won at Leopardstown. I thought he did really well to win at Leopardstown. He stayed on well. He is up by 8 pounds in the handicap. He's up to a mark of 112, and he's racing off 12 stone. But it was an 816 that he won the last day, and he just seemed to win with a little bit in hand. He showed a really good attitude. He is dropping down in trip by a furlong, but I think that's fine. This intermediate trip suits him well. He's only had 6 runs over hurdles, so there's every chance he'll improve again. His dam actually won over 5 furlongs as a juvenile, so it isn't that he gets 2.5 miles over hurdles, but he does. And yeah, look, he is up in the handicap, and he's got top weight. He has to give weight to everything, but he's just a progressive horse. I think he can go beyond the mark of 112, off which he's going to race now on Sunday. And yeah, I think we don't have any prices, and not that I've seen anyway in this handicap. It's a competitive race, but I can see him going okay.
Yeah, he should have won well. I was in Leopardstown when he won that day, and Conor Stonewall's definitely a man to have on your side in these claimers races as well. So yeah, big case for Giant Haystacks there, but it's just to see what price he opens up at, I suppose, like you said. But we're kind of finishing up there with the race now. We've gone through 6 or 7 races across the 2 days, so we won't go on for much longer. But Donn, I'll ask you for maybe your best bet of the weekend before we finish up.
I do like the Yellow Clay, but I think, in current prices around about a 5-2 shot, that's probably right. I think maybe Sam Brown could be overpriced in the Veterans Chase at Sandown there tomorrow.
Very good. Yeah, I kind of found it hard to pick one myself as well. Like a few of them are tricky enough races, but I thought maybe Briscoe for Harry Durham. He's had the prep run. He's a big price. If he can get back to something like his Irish form, he should run a big race. And I think Super Sunday as well at a massive price each way. It gets 3 places there in the Laurels and Naas. So going for the big price each way ones, because it's a bit tricky, I suppose, for punters this weekend, but a great weekend of action. But Donn, Thanks very much for all your contributions.
Thanks,
Great run through the weekend's cards. And thanks everyone for tuning into this show. If you're going to have a bet this weekend, make sure to gamble responsibly. We won't be back on Monday with our normal show. It'll be Wednesday this week. We'll be back with Johnny Ward and Vincent Finnegan to chat all the news from the week gone by. But again, thanks for tuning in, and make sure and like and subscribe if you enjoyed the content.